The honest woodcutter. Long ago, in a small village resting between green fields and a wide, endless jungle, there lived a man named Arif. He was known not for wealth or power, but for his honesty. His clothes were simple, his turban often faded with time, and his axe, though rusty and old, was his most valuable possession. Every morning before the village awoke, Arif would step quietly out of his mud house, sling the axe over his shoulder and walk into the forest. He did not dream of gold or riches. He dreamed of simple bread for his mother, medicine for his sick wife, and education for his little son, Hamza. While many villagers cheated in the market or lied for profit, Arif kept his heart clean. He believed truth was heavier than gold, and silence and honesty spoke louder than the noisiest lies. One morning after a night of heavy monsoon rain, Arif went deeper into the forest than usual. The trees stood tall and wet, their leaves dripping silver drops. The ground was soft, the air thick with the smell of earth. Birds sang after the rain, and a cool wind rustled through the banyan and neem trees. By noon, Arif reached the edge of a mighty river. Its waters were strong, rushing past with a voice like thunder. He found a leaning tree by the bank and said to himself, "This will be enough." Firewood for weeks, he raised his axe and began chopping steadily, each strike echoing across the forest. But fate had other plans. As he swung once more, his foot slipped on the wet ground. The axe flew from his hand, struck a rock, and tumbled into the deep, rushing water. Arif gasped, rushing to the edge, but the river had already swallowed it. He searched desperately, leaning dangerously close, but all he saw was the current. His only source of living was gone. He sat down on the muddy bank, his heart heavy, his eyes filled with tears. His mother's face came before him, his wife coughing in bed, his little boy's hungry smile. For a moment, despair threatened to break him. Yet he did not shout at the sky or curse his fate. He simply bowed his head and whispered, "Oh Allah, help me." As his tears touched the ground, something strange happened. The river grew calm. The sound of rushing water softened and a glow rose from its depths. Arif looked up, stunned. From the shining water emerged a woman cloaked in silver light. Her wings shimmered like mist, her eyes deep as the sky. She stood on the water itself, untouched by the current. "Why do you weep, woodcutter?" Her voice was calm, like the flow of the river. Arif lowered his gaze respectfully. "Lady, I lost my axe in this river. Without it I cannot work, cannot feed my family." The angel dipped her hand into the glowing water. When she rose again, she held an axe unlike any Arif had ever seen. Its handle was pure gold, its blade sharp and shining as if made of fire. The axe sparkled in the sunlight, brighter than treasure. "Is this your axe?" she asked. Arif stared at it, his heart beating faster. Such an axe could make him the richest man in the village. For one heartbeat, temptation whispered in his ear, but he quickly shook his head. "No, lady, that is not mine. Mine was poor, wooden, and rusty. Not gold." The angel's lips curved into a small smile. She dipped her hand once more and pulled out another axe. This one was of pure silver, polished like a mirror, beautiful enough to light up any room. "Is this your axe?" she asked again. Arif swallowed. Silver was wealth enough to feed generations, but he answered firmly, "No, lady. Mine was humble and old. That is not mine." Finally, the angel reached into the river again. When she rose this time, she held a worn wooden axe with a rusty blade. The handle was cracked, the blade dull, but Arif's eyes shone with relief. "Yes, that is mine," he cried, stepping forward. The angel placed it gently in his hands. "This is your axe. But because you chose truth over wealth, because you did not let greed blind your honesty, you shall not go unrewarded." Then, to his astonishment, she handed him the golden axe and the silver one as well. "Your honesty shines brighter than gold," she said, "and for that you deserve all three." Arif fell to his knees, tears streaming down his face. "Lady, I only spoke the truth." The angel touched his forehead softly. "And that is the greatest act of all." With that, her form dissolved into mist, and the river returned to its rushing song, as if nothing had ever happened. Arif returned to his village with all three axes. But unlike a greedy man, he did not keep the treasure for himself. He sold the golden axe to a merchant in the nearby city and used the wealth to build a school for children and repair the old village well. He gave food to the hungry and clothes to the poor. The silver axe he kept as a memory of the angel's blessing. But when he went to the forest each morning, he still used his old rusty axe. Soon word spread. Villagers whispered, Arif has become rich overnight? They asked. How did you do it? Arif only smiled and said, honesty is always rewarded. But not everyone believed in honesty. His neighbor Jalal, a greedy and jealous man, burned with envy. If Arif became rich by losing his axe, I can do the same, he thought. So Jalal went to the same river carrying his axe. He threw it into the water deliberately and sat on the bank wailing loudly, Oh no! My axe, my only axe. Once again the angel rose from the glowing water. She held a golden axe and asked, Is this your axe? Jalal's eyes gleamed with greed. Yes, that is mine. The angel's face turned dark. Without another word, she sank back into the water, taking the golden axe and Jalal's real axe with her. Jalal was left with nothing. His greed exposed, his hands empty. The villagers laughed at him, and he became the example of how lies bring only loss. Meanwhile, Arif's life continued with humility. His son Hamza grew older, learning from his father's ways. One evening, as they sat beneath the shade of the great banyan tree, Hamza asked, Father, why didn't you take the golden axe when it was first offered? You could have been rich already. Arif smiled gently. My son, gold earned by lies burns hotter than fire. Even a rusty axe earned with truth is cooler than the river. Hamza carried those words in his heart. Years later, when he became a man, he repeated them to his children, and the story of the honest woodcutter lived on. Generations remembered Arif not for the golden axe or the silver axe, but for the honesty that had brought light to an entire village. And as villagers gathered by lantern light to tell the tale, parents would remind their children, remember the man by the river. Remember that honesty is always rewarded. And in the whisper of the river's flow, it was said that the angel's voice still echoed. The truth shines brighter than gold.